Welcome to GuideToCoffee.com. Today we're going to have a look at the stovetop espresso machine. This is one of my favourite kinds of ways to brew coffee because it's so simple and it always tastes great. So if you're not familiar with the stovetop espresso, the concept behind it is all based on creating steam pressure in the bottom, forcing it up through the coffee grinds, which are held in here, through a filter, and the coffee is delivered to the top of the device. It's nice and straightforward, nice and quick to use, and doesn't involve the high expense of a home espresso machine, so it's great for people who don't want that huge outlay. Basically what we're going to do in this video is take you through how to use a stovetop espresso machine and how to get the best results out of it. First port of call, keep your stovetop, your hot plate, on about a medium heat. You want a medium heat to brew this, not too hot, otherwise the extraction is going to go too fast, and not too slow, otherwise you'll just be there all day. Now, it's important with these that you take note with your stovetop. This is actually like an emergency release valve, so you don't want to cover that up when you're brewing your coffee. What we do is start off by filling your bottom reservoir with some water. This is going to be filled up to just below that release valve, as you can see in there. And this is going to give you just enough water to do the brew. You don't want to use any less because it needs that quantity to perform properly. And if you fill it more than, if you fill it over that little valve, then it's not going to function properly if you build up too much pressure. Next port of call, this is a little funnel. So we'll place that in there, and this is what you use to put your espresso or your coffee in. So I'm just going to take a pre-ground coffee, of course, just for ease, but for best results you want to grind it on demand just before you want to brew. So best to use a medium setting. You don't want it quite as fine as you would use for an espresso machine, but you don't want it as coarse as you might for a drip. So somewhere in between usually works best. It's a bit forgiving, it doesn't have to be precise. So I'm going to go ahead and just evenly put in the coffee into here. There's no need to compress it or tamp it down at all. You can't have it compressed, it needs to be loose so the water can flow through. So I'm going to pause for a moment while we fill that up and be back in a sec. So as you can see, I've filled up the top funnel there with the pre-ground coffee. It's all just loose, you just don't want to pack it in, as I was saying, otherwise it's not going to let the water through at the speed you need. Next step is to put this together, basically. So you've got, with your stovetop, there'll be like a silicone ring that's going to form a neat seal here for you, and a little filter screen that's going to stop a lot of the grinds getting through into your actual drink. So we put this together here, put the filter in, and then put the O-ring in. Just sits in there neatly together. Alright. And then, easy as screwing the two together. So you want to do that until it's just tight, not too tight, otherwise you'll wreck it, but just enough to form a neat, tight seal. Alright. Now once that's on, nice and firm, next step 3 I guess, is just to pop it straight onto the medium heat on your hot plate and start the brewing process. So you want to take care here not to get the handle over the direct source of your heat. So if you're using a gas or burner, you don't want obviously the hot heat up on this handle because you're going to need to grab onto it and you don't want to melt it. And if it's something like an electric one here, just keep it off to the side so it's not in direct heat. These handles are designed to stay relatively cool to touch. So I'm going to pause. This is going to take probably, about 5 minutes to happen, and we'll come back when it starts to brew. So I'll take a few moments just to explain what's happening in the process of brewing this coffee. So the nature of a stovetop, or how it's designed, is that you've filled up the bottom reservoir with cold filtered water. By applying the heat sources, what it's going to do is heat the water up, of course, creating steam, which is going to build up pressure in this bottom compartment. The pressure that builds up in there, once it gets to the right point, is going to start forcing that heated water up through the bottom of that funnel and go through the coffee grinds, which is going to be the extraction of your coffee. The grinds, the brewed espresso is then going to come out the top of this spout here and into this sort of holding reservoir at the top. That's where the coffee ultimately finishes its brew. Now, as I was saying, it's important not to have the heat too high, because what that will do is burn the coffee for one thing, heat the water too quickly and too hot. You want to avoid that, so that's why I suggest a medium heat to start with. You want to experiment for what's best for you. You know, some people might find they need a hotter heat or a lower heat depending on their stoves. So this is still just heating up gently. Now, unlike a home espresso or a proper espresso brewed under extreme pressure, there's not going to be that lovely thick golden crema that you get on those types of extractions. What you will find is a small amount of crema sitting on top. I suppose you can call it that. You'll see when the brew happens what's going on there. But basically you don't get that rich, thick, honey-like crema that you would off a high pressure extraction, because the pressure in this is not quite as much. Some of the things that I like to use the espresso for, of course, it's a lovely smooth way to brew your coffee, and tends to get rid of a lot of the bitterness or acidicness. Or we can start to hear that bubbling up in the bottom now. It seems to balance out the flavours really well, and I find that they're usually quite a smooth coffee to drink. They are really quite full-bodied though, so they do stand up quite well to milk. If you like to heat milk and use the espresso in that to, you know, make your sort of flat whites and things, that's also a good way to serve it. But here we go. As you can see, the coffee just starts to gently pour out the top. If this is happening too quickly, or it's flowing out really fast, then you know you've got the heat too high. So what we're going to do is sort of watch this brewing. I like to sort of use a bit of a gauge when it's about 2/3, 3/4 full. I like to remove it from the heat source. Because you don't want to run the bottom part dry. Here we go. So I'm going to take it off the heat now. This is nearly done. So basically it's running out of water now to push up through the funnel. And this extraction's pretty well complete. So what I'll do is I'll just leave that sit there for to finish sort of bubbling away. And we'll be back in a few moments to... So now that the brew's complete, I'll serve it up just like I would here at home. If you're after more of a long black style of drink, simply just pour out your desired amount of coffee. And top it up with some boiled hot water. You can see it's a nice, rich, dark brew, so it's nice and strong. You can serve that with a dash of milk to cool it down, tone it down, make it a little bit you know, milky if you want, or if you like your black coffee, have it that way. Otherwise you can serve it up just like a short black and enjoy the coffee straight as it is. That's a good way to enjoy the fullness of the coffee. Otherwise you could certainly just use, you know, similar volume to that, with some steamed or heated milk, and that's also a good way to enjoy it if you like your milk-based coffee as well. So I hope you've enjoyed our little bit of a run through of the stovetop espresso machine. It's a great little device, not too expensive to purchase, and gives you some awesome results. Hope you've enjoyed, and if you like what you've seen, I'd love a subscribe. Catch you next time. Bye.